Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Raising Vibration Radio. I'm your host, Reverend Raven, and tonight I have the pleasure and the honor of having two special guests, not just one, but two special guests, John Norseman, who's been a previous guest back in June, and Leigh Norseman, his wife, and they're going to be sharing their tips with us to get through the holiday season and to let go of negativity, and then they're going to help me with guilt, and we're going to open up the phone lines tonight, and you can have your questions with them, and also we're going to be giving away one of John Norseman's book right here on Raising Vibration Radio. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our guests, John and Leigh Norseman. Hello, you two.
Hello there.
How are you? The second time it's always better around, right? Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Jenny, for helping me out with that. She just let me know that I forgot to hit the record button, so we had to start all over again. Welcome to the antics of Reverend Raven. You never know what you're going to get around here.
Great.
So, tell our listeners, tell me what you guys have been doing since you were last on the show. I know that John was on the show, but we heard from Leigh too a little bit in the last show. So tell us what you two have been up to since you were back in June.
Well, in June, we've been really doing a lot of things. We've done a lot of helping people who've been put in our way, which is part of what we do when generally people who are blocked and they have big jobs to do on the light side, and negativity has blocked them, and somehow Spirit always puts them in our path in all sorts of ways, and things that are meant to be happen. There's no such thing as coincidence, and everything happens in perfect time. And also, on the very personal front, we've had a bit of a miracle of our own in terms of an amazing healing for Leigh that involved a lot of spiritual healing ourselves. And it just shows that life is never dull, and you never know what's around the corner, but you just have to approach it very positively. And every evening we make affirmations, and we basically stay very positive. The power of thought is immense, and that's proved to us every day.
We spend a lot of time healing the planet. The things that happen that shouldn't happen, and preventing stuff from happening.
Well, do you guys want to go further into your miracle that happened?
Yes, well, I think if I kick off, and then Leigh will tell the very personal side of it and what she's been through, that basically Leigh has had an increasingly difficult time, and like so many of us all who are light workers, they come across a lot of negativity in their lives, and we've both been through, in our separate ways before we met, going through learning all the lessons of learning to say no and meaning it, how to overcome mental and physical abuse, and retrieving one's self-esteem, and learning that there's nothing one cannot achieve, provided you remove the blocks in your own mind, and have extremely positive thoughts the whole time, that the power of positive thinking is immense. And what Leigh had built up over the years, which was a reaction to difficult things in her life before we met, was a condition, spondylitis, and was in great pain with extreme compression of a sciatic nerve, and just painkillers wouldn't touch it. And I'll hand over to Leigh to tell the story of how everything happened in perfect time, how we prayed and asked God for help, Spirit, whatever name we want to put on the ultimate creator, that all would come together. We went into a lot of detail on that, and at exactly the right time, the right situation came together. The perfect surgeon, perfect hospital, and at a meeting with the surgeon 6 weeks after the surgery, he just couldn't believe how this fusion between orthodox medicine and the power of prayer produced, and he's a surgeon with white hair, he's very experienced, and he'd never had a result where someone had zero pain after the operation and was able to walk without pain after being partially in a wheelchair and in great pain for many years. So I'll hand over to Leigh to give her experience in her own words.
Well, I was diagnosed with spondylolisthesis a good 15, 20 years ago, maybe even more so. And then sometimes good, sometimes bad. And then last year, when we were in America and Canada, it just got gradually worse and worse and worse until I ended up in a wheelchair, having 8 injections into my back to try and sort of relieve the pain, but nothing really worked. And then we came back home in December and went to see this spinal surgeon in, I think it was February, wasn't it? In February this year. And he told me that I had no choice other than to have an operation, which covered 3 of my vertebrae, which is L4, L5, the lumbar section, and in the sacrum, S1. And what was happening is every time I stood up, L4 would come forward and trap the sciatic nerve, which then caused huge pain. Wow. Yeah, it caused massive pain in either one or both of my legs, and of course across my back. And
you guys never mentioned this to me before. I had no idea that you were going through that. You never let on that you were ever in pain.
I don't ever admit to pain. I don't give in to pain. I've had so much pain in my life that I'm sort of fairly used to it, but this lot just got totally and utterly out of hand. And then I had never in my life intended to have back surgery because 90% of the time, supposedly, it doesn't work. But this time, I didn't have any choice whatsoever. So in August, the hospital phoned me and said, would I like to have the op about 4 or 5 days later? And I said, well, yeah, sure. Yes, please. But then the surgeon said, no, it was too early and to go towards the end of September. So then on the 26th of September, we were asked to go to a city called Salisbury in the county of Wiltshire. It's about 200 miles away, north. And we went up there, and I was admitted to the hospital on the Monday afternoon, and then saw the surgeon on the Tuesday morning. And he said that he would start at about 8:30. And we waited and waited. 9:30, he reappeared and said, well, there was a problem because they couldn't get the MRI from the one hospital to the other hospital. So the operation couldn't take place that day, but he had in fact got the next Tuesday open to do it on the following Tuesday. So we made arrangements to have an MRI and an X-ray there, so that at least they had it on site. Because
Right.
this is a private spinal hospital, and when you have anything done on your spine, you not only need the right surgeon, but you need the right nurses. You need to be in the right place at the right time. And this place is absolutely perfect. Anyway, the next day was my birthday. So we spent the Wednesday in Salisbury, which is a really beautiful city, very, very pretty. It's got a most exquisite cathedral, very, very pretty. And then came home on the Thursday. Then on the Sunday, we decided to go back so that we wouldn't have to do so much traveling on the Monday. I was readmitted again on the Monday afternoon, and the operation took place at 8:30 on Tuesday morning. Yeah, Monday afternoon I went in. Tuesday morning it took place, and I got back to the room, the ward, at about 5:30. After being, I think the operation was about 5 hours. Mm. And then 2 hours in the recovery. But on that same day, the nurses, about half an hour after I got back into the ward, the nurses came through and said, well, come on, out you get. Go and sit in the chair over there while we make your bed. And I thought, my goodness, this is a bit fast. Anyway, I got out of the bed and I went to sit on the chair. And then, of course, had to go to the bathroom by myself and back again. So I was up and walking on the same day I had the operation.
Wow.
In going to see the surgeon 6 weeks later, he could not believe that I was walking so well and that I have absolutely no pain anymore. Nothing.
There were tears in his eyes.
Yes, it's absolutely incredible. And he made us read a whole lot of compliance stuff for the consent before he would even look at doing the operation. We had to sign that and write back and say, well, we have read it and understood it and accept it. And that document, one of the documents stated that they hope to relieve 70% of the pain.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, yes. In my case, I have no pain anymore.
Wow.
Which is probably the first time since I was 19 years old that I haven't had any pain, and I'm now 63. So
wow.
quite fantastic. But this all took an awful lot of ordaining and asking God to guide the surgeon's hand while he was doing the operation so that nothing would go wrong, because there's so much that could go wrong, and nothing went wrong at all. So it was absolutely fantastic.
And if I can just chip in here, that the matron of the hospital was a very spiritual person. We were sent to the right matron, and she's a lovely lady, and as a good matron should, rules the place with a rod of iron. Runs like clockwork. And we gave her a gift of a copy of the book, which she said the next day she was up till 2 a.m. and got halfway through it. And the thing is that she made all the difference, and she and the surgeon recognise that there was more to it. That what was happening was because part of the operation was removing a bone from another part of the Leigh spine and grafting it into where the titanium cage was being put to hold the whole thing together. And what we were asking for and praying for, ordaining, whatever you want to call it, was for it to be perfect, for it to all heal. And to be as it came about to be. And so the right people were there at the right time for something we had been praying for a long time. And sometimes it was a test of faith sometimes, because it was getting worse and worse, the pain and the confinement in the wheelchair. And it was about keeping faith, and we did. But we couldn't understand why it was taking so long. We were being reassured it was going to happen. But of course, everything had to be in the right place at the right time, which is what happened for the operation to be a huge success, and create the environment where it was also a situation where the hospital allowed me to stay with Leigh the whole time.
Right.
Because they understood. And so it's this wonderful fusion of modern surgery and expertise and the power of prayer.
Well, John's the best nurse I've ever had. He's wonderful.
How awesome is that?
But the thing is, it's also a matter of the power of love. It's the most powerful force in the universe.
Yes, it is.
And positive thinking. And we're just so uplifted by what has happened, because when we look back, the thing is, one never fully understands why things happen when they do until they happen, and then you look back and see that we didn't have all the information as to what had to come together in order for it to be perfect time. So it's a matter of having faith, ordaining, speaking to God, Spirit, the Creator, archangels, angels, however one wants to communicate with the higher energies of the universe. And it works. But one of the great things is there was a time in my life of what happened after the end of the book, where I went through a difficult year. And at one point I was walking and I just felt I couldn't go on. And I said, Lord, I feel I don't have the strength to carry on. And suddenly it wasn't a voice, it was just a feeling all over me that said, you have the strength. And suddenly I felt the strength. And I never looked back. And all of this is about, it's under many headings, the law of attraction. Put out what you want. Don't put out what you don't want, because you'll attract that in as well. And all these various lessons of finding the answers to problems from within oneself. And that's what we try to share with people, that we're both mature people who've had long lives, and we've had a lot of trials and tribulations on the way, but then life is a journey, and it's about overcoming obstacles, really. And we share with our experiences. We're not pious preaching people. We do it in a practical way. I'm often described as a practical intuitive.
Yes, I remember. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The only next step is when we fly to Edinburgh over New Year, what they call Hogmanay, is whether the machines at the airport will let me go through or not.
Yes, I'm thinking of hiring a bodyguard, because Barb's body is so full of titanium that I'm sure we're a security risk.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Let me ask you this. With all of the prayer and all the attention you put into this, into the surgery and stuff like that, what about the nurses and the doctors? Do you think they were very spiritual going into this too as well?
Yes, there was basically, yes. The vast majority of the nurses could see and feel the energies. And it comes back to really the most powerful force for positivity in the universe is love. And they were the sort of people who recognized that, really. And it was just, instead of a hospital nearby, we ended up through a series of things we won't go into all the detail, it would take up the whole show. But a hospital 200 miles away was the nearest one that could do this. And it was the perfect place with the perfect people in the perfect time with the perfect surgeon.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And
really
it happened in perfect time. But it was a long journey, and sometimes our faith was tested. The thing is to always keep faith. If you keep faith, it'll happen in the end.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the longest journey was for you to be in pain since 19 until you're 63 years old.
Yeah. Well, I had a major car accident when I was 19 where I had 83 stitches in my face. I broke 8 ribs on the left-hand side, punctured a lung, and I didn't walk for 18 months. It took me many years to get over that. Also, at the time, I was modeling. So I lost my modeling career. I lost everything because all my clothes were stolen from the place where I was staying, plus my suitcase out of the car was stolen. So I guess that was really the time where you get the big wall that falls down on you and saying, well, change. Do something different. But because, and I put it down to the fact that I'm such a positive person, and I always have been, in that I don't ever believe in looking back. I only believe in looking forward. And with every day comes something more, something bigger, and something better. And after one very bad husband first, a much better one second, I now have the cherry on the top.
Oh.
Aww.
And life is wonderful. It's absolutely fantastic.
Aw, I totally agree with you. Life is awesome and wonderful. And I'm so grateful that you no longer have that pain anymore. I hate to think that you're in pain.
No, I'm not in any pain at all. I even went gardening today. So
You did indeed, yes.
Amazing.
And the surgeon said, we both love dancing, but of course that's been off the agenda for a while. And when we go for New Year in Scotland, they have Highland dancing, the Highlanders in their kilts and so on. And we said to the surgeon, well, can we dance at the big evening? He said, yes, but how about the Highland Fling? He nearly fell off his chair. He said, no way. But
we'll leave that to the Scots.
We'll leave that to the Scots, yes.
I want to share with our audience what you're doing for New Year's Eve. They're going to something called Hogmania. No, I'm just kidding. It's called... It's not called Hogmania. That's what I would call it here. It's called Hogmanay, right?
Yes.
Is that how you say it? Yeah, laugh at me. I know. I butcher the English language. They're doing Hogmania in Scotland for New Year's Eve. It's going to be one wild time, and they're joining it.
Oh, indeed.
One of our philosophies is to enjoy every day as if we know it's our last. Because our past and our future are made up of today's. And so many people, and this isn't an original thought, because we're not Buddhist as such, but there's so much in Buddhism that is wonderful. And we embrace this from our own thinking as well, that so many people have miserable lives because they live in the past and they're either nostalgic about the past or they regret it. And then they look at the future and they're either unrealistically optimistic and disappointed or gloomy about the future. And therefore, if they do that every day, negative about the past and the future, it means every day is miserable. So they're creating a miserable life. But if you make every day, whatever happens, a joyous day, and see the best in it, and see it as a lesson to be learned, even if it's not such a good day, but just be glad to be alive, then your life is good.
Life is wonderful. Just give it a chance. Have faith and be positive. And we had a lady, funny enough, we had a lady who came to visit us in our house. And we only have one bedroom in our house, which is what we wanted. And
it means we don't have to say no to visitors.
Exactly. We just wave at them as they walk past. So
I'll sleep on your couch for that view that you have.
No problem.
No problem.
But this lady said, well, you know, what are you going to do when you want to sell your house? Because you're not going to get much of it because it's only got one bedroom. We were sort of quite astonished and said to her, well, why would we want to sell it? We bought it to live in. We built it, in fact, to live in. We don't want to move out and live anywhere else. We want to live here until we sort of go out in a wooden box. And it actually changed her whole way of thinking, because she was what you call a realtor. And she'd had this house that she bought in an area, and she'd been trying for over 2 years to sell this house. It was not even an inquiry, not even a bite. And then we were talking to her about being positive and putting out the law of attraction and all of that. And she decided, well, she would try this. And a couple of weeks later, she sold the house. And she said that things have just been so fantastic that as soon as sort of one door closed, another one opened. And what was in front of the open one was bigger and better than she'd ever seen before. Absolutely fantastic what positive thinking does. Mm. But all of you American people are just so positive. It's incredible. It's so wonderful to see and so wonderful to listen to all of you, because you're all so excited about everything, and that's fantastic.
Yes, we so enjoyed it. We spent 6 months in the USA and Canada, but mainly the USA, on a 6-month book signing tour. And it was wonderful seeing the country. And we particularly had so many positive experiences with Native Americans and First Nation Canadians. We went to see the reservations where they live, and they're wonderful at sharing the knowledge of their oral history and self-sufficiency and a different way of looking at life. And indeed, Leigh and I have had 3 past lives together as Native Americans.
Our house is called Cheyenne.
And it was in those past lives that we learnt so much about shamanism. So often people we're guiding and teaching who come to us, who cross our paths, they say there's so much to learn. And we always say, no, there isn't really. There's so much to remember of what we have already learned. And there are so many souls who've had many, many, many lives. And this is so important to realize that heritage. And basically one is, we don't believe in hypnotherapy and forcing it, because when one is ready and meant to see something one learnt in a past life, it happens. And many people have it triggered from, it's called in England anyway, déjà vu. In other words, you visit somewhere and you know you've been there before, even though you know you didn't in this lifetime. We've come across so many people who've experienced deja vu experiences. So that is a very, very real part of it. And it's helping people remember. And the other thing is that we never give advice. We wait till someone asks a question, because if people ask a question, it means they're ready to hear the answer.
Yeah. That's a hard one for some of us. Some of us want to help so bad that we just jump in and do it without waiting to be asked. Isn't that horrible?
Well, it's interesting that we still occasionally make that mistake, and we spend a lot of time sometimes because we can see so often something that's really important. But when we share it and they're not ready, it's actually a sterile situation because they don't actually do anything about it.
Mm.
And
that's the sad thing.
And that is the sad thing. Mm. And I found this on my own journey, that sometimes there were light workers put in my path there who act like pathfinders, and they did help, but I wasn't ready to hear. I always remembered it, and in later years when something, gosh, what they said was right. And we tend to restrict ourselves, which is ideal, obviously, for a phone-in. But if someone asks a question, by asking the question, they're ready to hear the answer. And that is a really important thing. One of the natural laws of the universe is non-interference. We all have personal choice. And my grandfather, who was a wonderful man, obviously long deceased, he fought in the First World War, in the terrible Battle of the Somme, where there were 600,000 Allied casualties in 1 week. It was slaughter. And he was wounded, and he lay on the battlefield for 3 days before being picked up. There was a ceasefire to allow British to collect their dead and wounded. And after that, even though he was the kindest, very Christian man, he said he didn't believe in God, because if there was a God, he couldn't have let that happen. But he'd rather miss the point, which is, it wasn't God. We have freedom of choice. It was mankind that did it to themselves. Mm. And this is the whole point. We're born with freedom of choice. And what happens is we found it on our journey, and that is very much a part of the book. There's nothing preachy. It's a real life story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the mistakes made and the lessons learned, the long journey. And as one goes through life, you come to crossroads. And taking a simple model, which is there's the path you're on and there's another path. It could be more than one other path, but let's keep it simple and just say one other path. And so often people choose to keep on doing what they're doing because it's what they know. As human beings, we're programmed not to like change. We have our paradigms. We have our comfort zones. And it seems very frightening.
I'm right up there.
And it's so easy. I would like £1 or $1, whichever currency people who are listening are used to. But every time someone has said to me, before Leigh and I met, well, I'm not ready to make a decision, so I think I'll stay where I am. And I say, but you've just made a decision. You've made a decision to stay as you are. No, I haven't. Okay, will you just do... And then they say, well, what should I do? And I said, well, you have to make your own decision. All we can do is to guide you on a decision-making path to make the right decision for you, but only you can make it. So I suggest, why don't you have a big sheet of paper and you draw up 2 columns, and you have your present path, whatever it is, and your new path, whatever's been shown to you or that has been put forward as an opportunity, which means change, just write the positives, the plus points and the minus points of each of those paths, because nothing's ever perfect. And on the new path, it might be you have to learn a new skill. It might be you have to change your personal relationships. Whatever it is, it seems difficult. And some people do that, and they do make a good decision, but the majority of people still don't do that. Unfortunately, we're given many chances. And all the time we have freedom of choice. So a very big part of the guidance we give to people who cross our path is to guide them how to make a decision as to which path to take at a crossroads in their lives. And we've done that ourselves, and it's one of the most difficult things for people to do, because it's natural to think by just staying as you are and avoiding a change, you've not made a decision. But the important thing is you have.
The thing is, if people look at change as something that's so totally positive, which it is, because all it is something new. And how can you carry on learning if you don't have something new? Something new is wonderful. And as long as you are positive, I don't personally have the word can't in my vocabulary because I don't believe in that. To me, if you can't, then what's the point? But if you try, there's always something going to come out of it if you try. And you never know. If you actually try it, you might actually do it. And of course you're going to do it. But the thing is, to be constantly positive is not easy. But if you have the kind of outlook where you wake up in the morning and you thank God for letting you wake up and for another day, and what a wonderful day it's going to be. How can anything go wrong? It doesn't go wrong. It just keeps getting better.
I'll give you another example where people said I was crazy. And at the age of 6... Oh, I know I am. I love being crazy, yeah.
I love you.
I freely admit it. Certainly an individualist. But the thing is, after a long life of doing things, at the young age of 66, I was guided to sell up everything, sell up home. This is before I met Leigh, and my previous marriage was a very happy one, and indeed the book ends with the death of my previous wife. Something amazing which happened. And that's why the last chapter is called Omega and Alpha, the end and the beginning. And at the age of 66, she and I were channeled to sell everything, our business, our house, and we both love boating, but weekend boating, and buy an ocean-going motor yacht. And we took 2 years doing just that. It takes 2 years, and even though proficient weekend boating people, doing all the training, because what we were going to do and did was cross the Atlantic Ocean in our 55-foot motor yacht. People said, you're crazy. You should be putting on your carpet slippers and putting on a cardigan and dying in 2 years of boredom. And
we still don't possess any of those.
No, we don't. We have fun. And
we do.
I know, you guys do. In fact, when you did your book, you came over here to the States to promote it through the publishing, which is Hay House Publishing, and go around. But you hung out on Indian reservations. I mean, you don't let any moss grow under your feet. That's for sure.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
But the thing is, what it is, it's just illustrating to people that if you really want to do something, there's nothing to stop you doing it. You just need to put aside all the say no's. Oh, you can't do that. You're too young. You're too old. You're too this. You're too that. No, you're not. If you really want to do something, you can do it. You then have to make sure you're trained competently to do it. At Amazing Adventures, it was a 4-year trip around the Mediterranean and crossing the Atlantic and being stuck in the islands in the middle of the Atlantic, the Azores, for 5 months with bad weather. There was a reason for that. But it was a true journey and a true spiritual journey, and learning so much about shamanism on the way and being guided ourselves. But it's the point that one can do things that society or your culture or your family or people around you say, you can't do that. But you can actually if you really want to and have the determination to follow through. And it's really, that's why I was guided by Spirit, God, Creator, to write the book. I actually didn't want to write it. I'd never written a book before. But it was because when I'd written it, it was, and it took a long time, it brought home to me that in a way all the amazing things that had happened in my life and huge problems at times I'd had to overcome and huge mistakes I made and had to put right, it all happened in order to share it in a true story, to help people sort of en masse, to just learn to say no. There are a very high proportion of people at some point in their lives are abused, either mentally or physically or whatever. And I experienced mental and emotional abuse as a child. And that creates low self-esteem. And it's the true story of recovering one's self-esteem and turning strengths into weaknesses and learning that courage is overcoming fear. Overcome your fears. And all that stuff, but not in a preachy way. It's just a practical way. And the genre of the book is inspiration and self-help.
When we were in America, we had so many people approach us between the ages of 18 and 35 that just needed some kind of direction. It was absolutely incredible because people just approached us from all over the place and just asked us questions and how do I do this? What do I do? Where do I find the information? And all the rest of it. And it was just incredible that these people just are looking not only for direction, but something more. Something not materialistic. And their reaction is just totally incredible. It's amazing. And we were very fortunate to be able to help a lot of people, which was great.
It was inspiring for us. And one hears so much about the young generation and how awful they are. In fact, we found some really wonderful young people who are crying out for leadership, crying out for direction. And they do, as Leigh just said, this is the really important part. They've been brought up in a materialistic society, but they're looking for more. And there was one young lady we met, she was a waitress in Seattle, who just recognized our energies, I don't know what it was, and started chatting to us. And we said, what are you looking for? And she said, I want a life where I work to live, not live to work. And that's quite a thought.
That's a huge thought.
And it wasn't just young people. It was our oldest lady person who came up and approached us was in Seattle. And we were sitting at an open air cafe having coffee and cake. And this wonderful lady, her name was Virginia, she admitted to having had 91 birthdays. She was walking without a stick.
Good for her.
And
Yes,
she was as
very
bright as a
alert.
button. And even though there were empty tables, she made a beeline for us, clutching her coffee and cake. And yes, she enjoyed life. It was a huge piece of chocolate cake. And she said, may she join us? And we said, oh, of course. And we had a good chat. And at the end of it, she was such a wonderful person. She'd been a professional musician in her life. As I said, she admitted to 91 birthdays.
Yes, she's a violinist.
And at the end of it, we said to her, Virginia, if in one sentence you were to use your vast experience as advice to young people, what would it be? And she said, do what inspires you. And we put on our blog on the website, with her permission, a picture of this wonderful lady, and the headline saying, Virginia of Seattle says, do what inspires you. And that's the sort of wonderful connection that we found. And it's so heartening. And also particularly that at 18 to 35s, the huge search for something more, and needing and wanting just someone to guide them, which is really what I'm sure many of your listeners do in their own lives as well. It's just helping people, and in fact, the young are listening.
Oh, yes. So many people say that teenagers are the most difficult people you can ever try to deal with. And they're not. They're so easy if you understand them. They're just starting out on their own lives. And they're trying to make an impression. They're trying to have a great time. They're trying to change the world in their own ways. And that's wonderful. Why not? We all did it. Why shouldn't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
that is so true.
Yeah.
Just like the young man yesterday with the observation that I had. Talking like an alien. To me. Crazy, crazy.
Yeah, but he was wonderful. Man,
he was wonderful, and I kept a serious face, and I just had the conversation with him. But I really think I was talking to an alien yesterday.
Well, he probably thought he was too.
Probably so. Probably so. With that said, okay, so you look at an alien, and think, well.
Sorry.
Okay, so I am going I'm going to ask for your help now. So many light workers out there, as you said before, with the work that we do, we put ourselves out there. Sometimes we get even though we stay positive, there's a little residual of negativity that sticks to us at some point. And for me, it's always been guilt. And so I'm asking for your help to release my guilt.
So what are you feeling guilty about?
Oh, any situation. When my mom died, I thought, December 1st was the 2-year anniversary of my mother passing away. I took care of her for 10 years before she passed away. And, all these people that I love and care for that came in my life and passed away, I feel responsible and guilty for that.
So why do you feel responsible?
Because I couldn't make them live. Do I now?
Why do you feel responsible?
Because I couldn't make them live.
Okay.
But that's not your job.
Yeah, I know. I want that position.
Well, unfortunately, you have to play God's wife then.
But I think if I could just come in with this, what you're talking about, the feeling of guilt when people die, it's what I mentioned. The last chapter of the book deals with a unique spiritual experience, but it also deals with the practicalities of coping with the loss of a loved one.
Mm.
And part of it is what you're talking about, are the what ifs. I had what ifs.
Yeah, we all do.
And part of the fact that I was able to channel answers to me, the feeling of, what if I'd done something different? What if I'd done something? And all those questions got answered. But it's the feeling of guilt that if only I'd done this. But you weren't to know, as long as you did everything you did with love, then that was all that could be done. But this is a very common feeling in bereavement, which is what you're touching on, I think, which is the feeling that one could have done better, but you couldn't actually. And I was fortunate, and there's a whole dialogue of reassurance that went on. But I think the other lesson is that if one tells one's loved ones, personal persons, whoever they are, if you tell them or show appreciation for how you love them every day, then when they die, you couldn't have done more. I think the real regret is if perhaps while they were alive, I'm not saying you, but if one maybe didn't say something kind when it was needed, or just show them you love them every day, in whatever form that person liked to be shown love. Just a kind word or appreciation or a song. And then you've done everything that you can. But generally, the what-ifs are self-imposed burdens that you couldn't have done anymore. But if you do that one other thing, then you can't go wrong, really.
When my previous husband died, I also went through these what-ifs, but I thought, well, if I'd done something different, would the outcome have been different? And no, it wouldn't have been, because if it had been, I wouldn't have met Alan. I wouldn't have met John a year later. So all these things happen at the right time. And it's not necessarily happening for you to learn a lesson. Not at all. It's just their time to go.
Right.
And when your time comes, you go. No matter where you are, what you're doing, who you are, it makes no difference whatsoever. Everyone has to leave.
I agree with you.
Yes, so right.
I agree with you. I'm ready. When it's my time to go, I'm going to blow this popsicle stand. I'm ready to go. You know what I mean?
We agree with you. We agree with you. And the thing is, when I know when I lost my mother, I was absolutely devastated, and I think I must have cried for at least 6 weeks. But after seriously mourning her for many, many years, I finally came to the understanding and the realization more so that at least she had no more pain. And at least now she was happy. And she could do whatever she wanted up there is a very great vibration. And that she didn't have to suffer here. So
I got you. I got that. I understand all that. But what about thoughts?
What about what?
Thoughts that were unspoken thoughts that you had while you're a caregiver taking care of somebody. Like, here's a thought that would come in my mind. if she would just go on to the other side, she'll so much better. There's no more pain. Those kind of thoughts would come into my mind. And then when she did pass away, I felt guilty for thinking those thoughts. Do you understand?
You can't feel guilty because it's 100% natural feeling.
Yes.
It's so natural, it's almost automatic.
Yes.
So don't ever feel guilty about a thing like that. She's in heaven. She's happy. She's the lucky one. You're the one who got left behind.
I know, I always say that.
Yes, I actually asked my mother to take me with her. And I spent about 3 years being really angry with her because she didn't. And then I thought, well, okay, but there's time to pick up sticks and carry on now because I'm obviously not going anywhere.
If I can just widen the thing about guilt beyond bereavement and the regrets of what might have been if one had behaved differently or acted differently while that person was alive, which generally is unwarranted. It's a matter of forgiving oneself. And forgiving oneself is the first step in the process of forgiveness, which is a huge thing.
It's also the hardest step.
But the thing about guilt, and this isn't an original thought, so I'll go over it very, very quickly. There are guilt throwers and guilt catchers. And I think, Leigh and I went through a large part of our lives as guilt catchers. People throw guilt at you. It's all right for you. It's this, it's that. And they throw guilt. Oh, how many times have I been irritated when someone's cut their finger and says, look what you've made me do. Well, I didn't make them do it. I was just standing there. But it's that sort of throwing guilt. That's a very minor situation. And there's the lesson to learn that the automatic thing is if a white light person has guilt thrown at them, they'll catch it. And the problem is holding it, and then it damages you. The next stage is if, with natural human reaction, you throw the guilt back at them. And then you've got tit for tat going. The smart thing to do is just like someone throws you a hard ball, you just stand there with your hands by your side and you let it hit the ground. And that's the way to deal with guilt throwing.
The same way you deal with negativity, just leave it alone.
Walk away from it.
Yeah.
Because you cannot placate negativity.
Don't even try, it's pointless.
And that's one of the lessons.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you think that the guilt catchers, people feel very comfortable around them to throw the guilt at them?
Yes,
I would say
yes,
so.
I think they're very comfortable. And it's like this, this thing of learning to say no. That the thing we've always, Leigh and I have related to the title of your radio station, vibration. Everything is vibration. We all vibrate. Color is vibration. And that's how people put out a tone of color, a vibration that attracts others or repels others. And if one is in the state of having been abused and not learned to say no and mean it, it has to come from the heart. It's like saying a prayer and thinking about the shopping list. It won't work because God, Spirit, the angels, Creator, they don't actually hear what we say. They hear what our hearts say. And there was a situation, very simple situation, where someone said to me, well, I've got a headache, can you clear it? So I put my hand in their aura, and I always say the words I'm thinking so the other person knows what I'm doing. I don't need to, because halfway through the person said, my headache went before you'd finished speaking. I said, yes, because what the angels heard was my heart, not what I was saying. But I think this is the real thing, that God hears what's in your heart. And one of the lessons I had to learn as someone who'd been trained as a left brain person in business, was to follow my heart, not my head.
Yeah, indeed.
And I did that quite late in life.
Yes, I did too.
Well, I totally get everything that you guys are saying, and I feel lighter just by having the conversation. Like I purged myself, kind of like upchuck the Mexican. You know that joke?
Yes,
No, you don't, do you?
yes.
An old English joke that was told. So anyway, I feel like I just got. You know the joke?
No,
No,
I don't.
It's from the American Werewolf in London. It was a movie where these two guys from America go over to London, and they were told to stay off the moors when they went into this English pub. And when they walked into the pub, they were telling this joke about these diplomats were all on this plane flying across Texas. And there came upon a storm, and the plane started coming down, and they kept saying, "The plane's too heavy." So the first diplomat from England said, "God save Queen," and he jumps out of the plane. And then another person comes up, and they say, "The plane's too heavy." So the guy said, "God save," he says, "God save so-and-so, Canada," or whatever, and then he jumps off the plane. Well, the diplomat from Texas, the guy goes, "The plane's still too heavy." So he says, "Oh, okay." So he goes, "God save America," and he upchucks a Mexican because they were over the Alamo. I don't say it right. It's an English joke, and it's from an old movie from back in the 80s, so.
That's really good.
So I call it purging like that. So.
Oh, wonderful.
You have to watch the movie. Do yourself a favor and watch American Werewolf in London. It's a classic.
We'll have to now.
We'll have to. We will.
Indeed.
But I do feel lighter. I really appreciate you guys. So when you guys talk to me, when you hear my voice, the vibrations and stuff, what do you guys pick up intuitively?
You're extremely intuitive, very, very intuitive. You're a extremely positive person. We really enjoy you. And we just feel like you're an old friend, and you are. It's just a vibration of like-minded or like vibrating people. This is how people who are meant to meet in this world, soulmates or whatever, in the end they will, because it doesn't matter where they are on the planet, the vibration will cause them to meet. And we're always astounded how people cross our path and we cross people's paths. And on my journey, people that were meant to help me. There's a lady in America who's a medical intuitive, who, while I was still on my journey, cleared me of past life traumas that I had carried through into this life. And in the process, I learned how to do it for others as well, because she could see that I had the ability to, but I needed someone else to clear me before my blinkers came off. By blinkers, I mean, I don't know in America if you call them blinkers, the things you put over horses' eyes so they don't get startled, so it limits your vision. They're called blinkers. And
we call them blinders.
Blinders, okay. But blinders. She removed my blinders in 3-year sessions and then said, "Right, you're free to go on." And that episode is referred to in the book, though. But it's like that. It's a journey where they're like pathfinders, and the vibration is right at that point of time, and it's meant to be. And you either learn from it or you don't, or you choose to take it up or you don't. That's the personal choice thing on the path. And There was one stage in my life when I really wasn't listening, and then the whole brick wall fell in on me, and I had to make a big choice. And it was because I wasn't getting on and doing what I was meant to do in this life. And when I'd sort of crawled out from under the brick wall, I made promises to Spirit, God, that I would do what I was meant to be doing. And that does happen in the end. So many people have a life-changing experience on their journey, or a near-death experience, or a near-death experience of a loved one, to make us wake up. And Barb's referred to her. She was on a path as a catwalk model. That wasn't what she was meant to be doing. And so that was Leigh's outcome. But she learned, and it's what all of us, even really awful things, they are actually necessary obstacles on the path to achieve our destinies.
All right, I have a caller that called in, and I think I heard her beep in. Do you mind taking a caller?
I'd love to speak to a listener. Yes, love to.
All right, let me go to her here. Hi, Diana.
Hello.
Hi. Did you want to talk?
Well, what am I supposed to talk about?
Well, they've been helping me release my guilt, and tonight they're offering, if you have a question, you want to ask them about something about health, to look into intuitively or whatever, they're here to help tonight.
And okay, you don't ask a question, or they ask you questions, huh? Oh, let me tell you, when I was listening to you, I said, you feel guilty? She suffered for 10 years and you feel guilty that she died? She should have been rejoicing. My goodness, I was singing. She'll be coming round mountains when she comes, and then I got really mad because she wouldn't die soon enough because she was suffering. It's such a relief when they're suffering and they died. No, there's no guilt to that, lady. Drop the guilt. I don't know if I have a question. Is there anything that you, I don't know if you could pick up on anything with me lecturing Sandy now. Let's see. Do you pick up on voices, or how do you read people?
John?
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Okay, so she was asking, can you pick up anything intuitively on her?
If I could hear the voice again, because it wasn't very clear at this end.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Let me get myself close to the phone then. Maybe the phone was too far away.
That's better. Yes.
So I don't know what to say. I've been cleaning my crystals. Because they know we're getting ready to move, but we're not sure where we're going. We just know we're going. What do you pick up on that?
I think I'd like really to, there's probably an underlying question in your mind about something that, I don't know, you're thinking about, or a decision or something in your life. If you feel able to share that, then I think it might be able to help. But it's really understanding the question in your mind, because everything is a question, something you want to know. There is something you want to know, so you need to ask that question.
Well, I think that
I'm not sure what I want to know, because I'm looking for a room for rent, and none of them are working, but I know the right one is there. Is that right one going to contact me, or is it someone that I've already sent an email about or left a voicemail, or have I found my room?
Is this a particular person you're talking about?
Particular
person
room.
You already know?
A room for rent. I'm looking for a room for rent.
You're looking for a room?
So the answer to your question, Leigh, is no. She doesn't have a specific one.
Okay, but she's looking for somebody to come into her life.
A room.
A room.
R-O-O-N. Room for rent.
Okay.
Most people don't rent rooms, so they may not understand that. I'm sticking around because it's winter, and I'm sticking around Florida for now. I have things to do in Florida, so I need to rent another room. I want to know if I have already contacted, emailed the person, or talked to them on the phone. Have I already met my new roommate? That'll help you understand. It's their house with a room.
Getting the answer, no, not yet.
Am I going to be talking to them anytime soon?
Are you likely to be talking to them anytime soon? It's always a difficult one on timing, because on the other side, is no concept of time. It's only in our three-dimensional world. On the other side, everything is in the now. But I will try. I'll phrase the question in my mind a different way as to, is finding that person. I'm not getting that there's anything imminent. It's probably, wait a minute, I'll ask another question.
Well, I'm pretty much thinking it's someone I've already contacted. They just haven't contacted me back.
What I'm actually getting is that there's something you need to do to be proactive in this.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Keep after them. Keep out, I am being proactive. I'm answering every ask.
And the one that you're going to get has not advertised yet. The one that will come has not yet been advertised. Not ready yet.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting too, yeah.
All right. Is it near me or in a different city?
Yeah, what you need to do is you need to, do you meditate? Do you know how to meditate?
Yeah, since I was 4 years old.
Okay. If you meditate...
I've died a few times, so I'm pretty much in contact.
Great. If you
with
meditate,
the other side.
And then in your mind, see exactly where you want to be and what your room looks like.
That's what I've done.
Do you want a room in a big house? Do you want a room in a small house? Do you want one on a lot of land? What kind of thing do you want? You have to be very specific when you put out the law of attraction for something like this. So you've got to know exactly what you're looking for. And then when you meditate, have that picture in your mind and see yourself moving into this room. And see yourself
I've
being
already
very
done
happy
everything you
there.
said. That's what I tell people to do when they call me for advice. I've already done everything you just said. In fact, I've even thrown out the red string to touch to the person to call me into their space.
Well, it's coming.
It is
just
coming.
on the law of attraction, could I ask you a question, which is, have you read any books on the law of attraction?
Oh, yeah. I have attracted things vibrationally. See, I don't own anything. I lived on the road for 2.2 years. I spoke with the universe, and the universe spoke back to me, and what I needed, I got. Not
That's
by
wonderful.
by finding the right person in the right place and that kind of thing.
Well, this is not
usually an open-hearted person that can attract. When you're doing the law of vibration, if the person's not truly open-hearted, if they're just all talk, that's not like, it has to be an open-hearted person to be able to really respond to what your vibration, to be a like vibration.
Yes.
Exactly. But you are doing exactly the right thing, and you understand everything about in God's time. So when everything is right and everything is in place, your room will come to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not yet.
It's my time, but it's not their time yet. I understand that.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. God's time is never my time either. But it will come at the right time.
And one of the reasons is, which I'm sure you know anyway, as you've looked a lot into the law of attraction, is that when one puts out a request to the universe under the law of attraction, other people are involved in that being manifested. And all those people have personal choice as well. And so the angels that deal with this, they have to get all the other people
in line.
Not there, yes, bigger line. So they are not having interference in their lives. There mustn't be interference. And that can take a little time. But when one does that, and it's only after it has happened that one is able to see just how complex it was bringing everything together. So, but the thing is not to give up.
Okay, so speaking of the law of attraction, this is a good time for me to give away a copy of your book. Right. I am purchasing a book for one of our listeners that came to the show tonight. I've got everybody's name in a bucket, except my person that's going to pull the names walked away. Hello, honey. Honey. I think he forgot. I need you to come pull a name. Okay, so he's coming back, and we're going to pull a name. Diana, thank you so much for calling in tonight. And we're gonna get this name pulled right now here. Okay, there we go. All right. And it is Jenny Satori. So lucky you, Jenny, the creator of this website.
Enjoy it, Jenny.
Enjoy it, yes.
Yes, I am going. You let me know if you want a paperback or if you want the digital copy or, what you want. One of the two, paperback or digital copy, let me know, and I got it, and it's coming your way. So that is my gift because this is one of the last two shows here on Raising Vibration for this year. And then we'll start back up in 2017. So what I would normally say pass it on to someone else, but you know what? I'm happy to have it. Thank you. That's what Jenny just said. Jenny's a good
Jenny.
person. She deserves to win.
Well
it wasn't rigged. It wasn't rigged. Yeah, okay, whatever. I put everybody's name in there, and Jenny won. Yay! So, anyway, I'm going to get her a copy of your book and everything like that. And I also want to share your website with everybody. Let me see if I can find it here. It is, normally I would have a link here, and I didn't create the, let me find it. Here we go. It is at john-norseman.com, right?
Correct, yes.
Is your website?
Yes.
Yes. So for all you guys listening in archives that listen, that link right there, it does not work. But it will, if you'll just copy it and paste it into your browser, it'll get you right there to the site and everything like that. And you have a blog on there, and you have information on how to purchase your book, Journey of a Shaman by John Norseman. Right?
That's it.
That's it. All right. Now, do you guys have, oh, thank you, Jenny, for putting the link in there. Do you guys have anything, we're coming to the end of the show, that you guys want to share with all the listeners?
We hope you all have a really wonderful, wonderful day. And we wish you all of God's blessings.
And also a great Christmas and always
and a great Hogmanay.
Yes, always New Year is a very special time, and I think it makes us all reflective. And so we hope you have a wonderful, uplifting time, and that everything is positive in your life, and very happy and healthy 2017.
I have a question for you guys. Did you know that that song All Lang Syne came from your Hogmania that you're going to?
Yes, indeed.
You knew that? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Old Lang Syne.
Yes.
That song. Yes.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Yeah.
I know. I did some research when you told me what you guys were going to for New Year's, and I didn't realize that song had come from that tradition.
Yes,
indeed.
It's played everywhere, though, not only in Scotland, in England, in Wales, Northern Ireland, everywhere.
Yeah, but I think we're going to have a fantastic time, but we're going to be slightly out of place because the Scots love whiskey. And on New Year's Eve, there's whiskey everywhere. And Leigh and I, we don't drink alcohol, so we're going to have to pretend to drink alcohol to stay in with it all. But but there's an old song in Scotland. They call the lakes lochs, spelled Lochs, and there's a song about Campbelltown Loch, and there's this song sung in a Scottish accent: Campbelltown Loch, if you were whiskey, I would drink you dry. And that's what they do on New Year's Eve. I think I'll be the only man there who's not wearing a kilt.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
And if I was going, I'd bring me a mirror with a selfie stick looking around down underneath the tables and stuff, but that's just me.
Well, when we were having our house built, and we went up to Scotland to see the Highland Games and on holiday, and the builder who was building our house, we had a very good relationship with him, and though we could see the upstairs before the staircase went in, he would hold a ladder so we could easily get up the ladder. As you know, we're of mature years, so we had to be a bit careful going up high ladders. And Leigh mentioned to him, his name was Derek Coburn, a Cornishman, and that I would probably come back wearing a kilt. There's this mystery about what does the Scotsman wear under the kilt, and you...
the answer is nothing.
And you answered that. And his comment was, because he's got a great sense of humour, well, I hope you don't expect me to hold the ladder for you when you're wearing your kilt.
I love it. So do you guys have any speaking engagements or anything like that coming up in 2017?
There's nothing tangibly booked yet, but there are that will start coming in, and we'll keep you in the picture.
Yes, they normally start coming in towards the end of January.
Yes, it goes quiet now, so because everyone's doing other things.
Everybody's too busy celebrating.
Yes.
Oh, of course. I totally agree. Yes. But as soon as you get stuff in, you let me know so I can post it on our Facebook page so we can spread the word and stuff like that.
Yes, and thank you to everybody. Thank you, Tom, 1960, for your remarks. And Gigi, Jenny, Reverend Raven, fantastic to speak to you all. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for coming on the show tonight and sharing the beautiful miracle that, you went through and giving us all hope that if we keep positive and moving forward, then anything is possible.
Oh, definitely. And now there's no pipeline for this oil, which is wonderful.
Right.
Isn't that fantastic? Yes,
Amen.
Definitely. Indeed. Yes.
Amen. Yes. All right. Merry Christmas.
And a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful, peaceful, prosperous New Year.
Indeed.
All right. Well, everybody, good night. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I feel so blessed tonight. And we'll have you back on in 2017.
Fantastic.
We'll take you up on that. It's always such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.